But speaking of HBO, we had an article that came out about Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. Still a shitty name, by the way. I will always say that. And the article was about how the Tolkien estate was entertaining bids from several of the major streaming ones. You have Netflix, HBO, and of course Amazon. We all thought the reason Amazon got the rights to do Lord of the Rings was because they had the most money. Not true.
Right.
They had the least shitty idea.
Yeah, that they actually had a slightly smaller bid than other people.
Did you read you read the article?
I did. I read the whole article. Yes. It was fascinating.
Netflix being trash and trying to do like a Marvel style spin-off, because they kind of did this with the Defenders. They did it like a Daredevil spin-off and Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, all that, and it ultimately culminated in the Defenders, which was kind of shit. They offered this idea, and the Tolkien estate freaked out at it. And then you have
cinematic universe. They wanted to go straight cinematic universe.
Those fucking assholes. And then you had HBO. What the fuck? Their idea was, let's redo the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which, come on. You don't touch that. That's it's like the Godfather films. They're the first two. Third one sucks.
Well, here's the thing, though. What I found fascinating about the article was that the Tolkien estate was actually fairly unhappy with the Peter Jackson trilogy.
Fuck them. Like, this is where...
I know, right?
They can go fuck themselves in this regard, because, first off, you assholes are not really producing anything. They're just really sitting on royalties. Some of the Tolkien family members, they have other jobs where they, like, write books and shit, but let's be honest, no one cares about anything they're doing. If you have... The name Tolkien kind of sells itself, but at the same time, nobody really cares. Right. One of them wrote a book about one of the presidents or something, and who fucking gives a fuck? They're basically sitting on Lord of the Rings and Hobbit royalties. Cool. But I'm sure that at this point they're running out of money, and they're like, fuck, we need more money for the other kids. What can we give off?
This, you kind of know that this is the, you saw Knives Out, right?
No, I haven't seen it yet. I have it downloaded though. What, it's good?
Okay, so Knives Out. So first of all, like, you know how everybody hates Rian Johnson after The Last Jedi? Like, first of all, he's an incredible filmmaker. Okay, Knives Out is an incredible movie.
Don't spoil it for me. I have it down. I need to watch it.
I won't spoil it for you, but I'm gonna tell you that there's themes to the movie, and this is what takes the movie to a different level. It's not just a murder mystery. There's a larger theme to the story. And the premise of it is that the entire family is an estate based off of this famous writer who is a murder mystery writer. And so all the family members have read his murder mysteries, so they all kind of know how to murder people. But like they're also all like just sharks waiting to live off of the leavings of the previous generation. Okay? And then one of the protagonists is a immigrant, Latin American immigrant, and like the maid. And so there's a big statement being made about like who's deserving of wealth in America, through the events of this movie. And so like there's a big there's big theme to it, but it's funny that the metaphor that Rian Johnson uses for for undeserving wealth are like writers' estates, like dead writers' estates, you know, like that's it's the hilarious thing. Like, oh, your ancestor did something great, and you're just living off of the royalties. And that's his metaphor for like, you know, like rich entitled people in America that just like expect to be wealthy while the illegal immigrants are breaking their backs. Yeah. So yeah, it's a great movie, but like, and it's just a great murder mystery, but by itself. But when I think about like this estate, and granted, I understand that like they could be worse as well. Like they could also just be like, yeah, let's just take the money. Let's just sell ourselves to every project and take as much money as possible and not care about the IP and not
well
and
they
not
wanted their
honor
cake and they
material.
wanted to eat it too, because what they liked about Amazon's, by the way, like HBO offering to remake Lord of the Rings, dude, fuck you. Like, that's the dumbest thing you could because everyone loves the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It's perfect. Even the Godfather and Star Wars original trilogies, like, they have their problems, sure, but at the end of the day, like, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I think, is probably the most, like, amazing, perfect trilogy in cinema, like, history ever of all time. There's not one bad film. They're all equally phenomenal.
I mean, look, they're great movies. They're not perfect. There's a lot of like, they're kind of slow. There's 7 endings to Return of the King. It just keeps going.
Stop it. There's 7 endings, what, in the extended edition? Because I think the theatrical edition, they cut down the amount of endings.
There's still like 7 endings at the end of the theater. I watched, like, I was in the movie theater and people started laughing every time another ending came on. Like, and just the laughter like got more and more because they'd fade to black and then another ending.
Fuck all those people in those movie theaters. For me, it's a perfect trilogy. But like I said, like, we had Star Wars Return of the Jedi. I know you didn't like that one. I didn't like Godfather Part 3. I thought it was terrible.
Godfather Part 3 is horrible.
It's the only good.
Horrible,
the only good part was
horrible.
when he goes, "They keep pulling me back in." Like, that was sure.
I mean, the acting is fine for the most part. Not the daughter, but like, Andy Garcia is fine.
Sophia Coppola, I think her name was.
Sophia Coppola. Like, I don't think she's as bad as everybody claims, but I don't think she she's certainly not great. But no, like I say, these movies are perfect. Okay, I'm not gonna say they're spotless. But yeah, no, they're really good. They're really good.
The Tolkien estate can fuck right the hell off. Nobody cares what they think about anything. The movies are perfect, in my opinion. They probably wanted that, like, cartoon movie from, like, the 80s that, is all happy and hunky-dory. Whatever, fine, that's them. But I'm mostly annoyed that HBO squandered this opportunity to have the rights to 2 of the best fantasy series in the world. They already have Ice and Fire, and now all they needed was Lord of the Rings, and they'd be set. They would have it in the bag. But of course, they had, one of the 2 shittiest ideas, and yeah.
I mean, I'd love to know, I kind of know generally what the Tolkien estate had a problem with the Jackson trilogy, but like, I'd love to know, like, very specifically what it was. Like, I kind of know that they didn't like how dour and violent and everything it was, that they thought it was a more wonderful, magical world. Like, kind of how we talked about, whether you're going to have something be more like The Hobbit or if you're going to have something be more, or, darker. And Lord of the Rings, like, some people say Lord of the Rings can be quite dark, and yes, it can be, but it also has Tom Bombadil and people dancing and songs and all sorts of stuff. It's still like a wonderful, wondrous, fun world with the dark parts. While the Peter Jackson trilogy is great, but it is dour. I mean, it's very sad, like, very sad world that they live in, it seems.
But there's also elements of hope, Preston. That's the point.
There are, but it's not it. There was not that many moments of fun. I think it's why people really attached themselves to the Merry and Pippin characters of the movies, because those few comic relief moments were really like, people really loved and latched onto.
I told this to Yoyston, and I'll say it to you here. I skip a lot of the Frodo and Sam stuff. I like the Sam and Pippin stuff. Whenever I do my rewatches, I skip a lot of the Frodo, because I don't give a fuck. When the Gollum comes in, I don't care. I love the stuff with Rohan and Aragorn, Gandalf, all that. I love the stuff with Merry and Pippin.
There's a lot of like, thank you, Sam. You came with me. You supported me, Sam. Of course I did, Mr. Frodo. Like, there's a lot of that shit. I get it. I think I skip, like, like, when I watch it. So, I mean, I like Fellowship the most. I think Two Towers is also really good. I think Return of the King is my least favorite, but I think I skip, like, the spider scene and
Shelob,
Shelob stuff, and And I do think they kind of overdid it with every time he puts on the ring, it's a freaking hellscape. Like, you know, he did just use the ring to be invisible. Like, can't he just use the ring to be invisible without it being like an absolute nightmare every time he puts on the ring, you know? But whatever, you know. But for them, you know, I do like them. I do like them a lot. But they're beautiful, beautiful movies, just like how they're filmed and everything. So I can understand them wanting to be very careful. And I guess if you, even putting myself in the estate's like position, if you were given those 3 pitches, like what would you go with? Wouldn't you go with the Amazon pitch?
I would see. Here's the thing, though, because when Amazon put out this pitch, they were kind of untested in regards to a streaming service, because this was like 4 years ago. Like, Amazon had just gotten in a streaming game, and the only thing they had, to my knowledge, that was fucking phenomenal was, back at the time, was Man in the High Castle, which is the I forgot the author's name, escapes me right now, but it's an alternate universe, alternate world where the Nazis and the Empire of Japan won World War II, and they split the world in half. It's one book that Amazon managed to split into 4 or 5 seasons. It was good. The first couple of seasons was good, and then as it went on, it kind of sucked. I don't even think The Boys was out at the time.
No. And if The Boys were out, I think it probably would have scared off the Tolkien estate.
Right, but then who do you have left? If Netflix sucks, who we can do? Disney? No. I don't want to give Disney that much power, because they have Marvel and Star Wars, and now we're going to give them the fucking Lord of the Rings too? That's too much.
I mean, they're eventually going to control everything, so no worries.
And random thought, I would have liked to have seen what Apple would have done with Lord of the Rings, because I've touted this before on previous podcasts. I'll say it here. I watched their show The Foundation. Really good. It based off the Isaac Asimov book. Really fantastic. The CGI was good for a show that they probably knew a lot of people weren't going to watch, and I doubt a lot of people did. They put a lot of thought and effort into it, and it really shows. It has its issues here and there, but for the most part, very entertaining, very fun. I highly recommend it to everybody listening to this right now. The Foundation on Apple. I would have liked to have seen what they would have done with Lord of the Rings. Because definitely not Netflix. Definitely not Netflix. Never Netflix. After the travesty they've been doing lately, never Netflix ever again. That's my hashtag right there. Never Netflix for any adaptation going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of the big things. I mean, Netflix, all they have is Bridgerton and Squid Game.
They also have The Crown.
Okay. Oh, right. Yeah, so I guess I got... Yeah.
And they have a lot of these smaller shows that have a cult following. I forgot the name of this one show, but it's about the guy who's stalking this girl and he's killing people around her to be with her. I forgot the name of it. I think it's just called Love or something like that.
Yeah. They do have a lot of tiny little cult shows that people like. I mean, Dairy Girls Season 3 just dropped, and it's going to be on Netflix, so I'm going to go over and watch that. But it's not like Netflix really was in charge of producing it. They just bought it from the British,
Right. So. Oh, what's that one show you love so much? Was that Netflix or HBO? Russian Doll?
Russian Doll is Netflix, yeah.
Oh, there you go. See, it has a lot of these random... Netflix is a great place to revive shows that people really enjoyed, but the networks canceled it. The Last Kingdom. Which was I like The Last Kingdom. I gotta watch the latest season. Amazon did the same thing with The Expanse. So, yeah, it's just, I trust HBO.
I think what people, so all of the streaming services have great shows. I'm not saying, I don't think the quality of the streaming services shows has gone down at all. I think what's changed is there hasn't been a blockbuster, pull everyone in, much must watch fantastic show. I think that's it. You can still find these really niche, incredible shows on all of the streaming services, just that not everyone's watching them, So
there's just so much shit that's coming out at the same time. Yeah. It's just, god damn, I can't keep up.
You gotta sift through and get recommendations,
But still, though, there's so much. Even in the last month, what we had House of the Dragon, Rings of Power, She-Hulk, Andor. What else? Kenobi just wrapped up a couple months ago before all this. Star Trek wrapped up. Right now I'm also watching Star Trek Lower Decks, the adult animated show. Mm-hmm. It's just so much shit.
So much. But but back to Lord of the Rings. I guess at the end of the day they made the right call. I don't necessarily think HBO or Netflix would have done a better job. I think, the Amazon production, if they're really talking about pleasing the estate and going in the feel, because they're talking about like the thematic feel of the world, I think they did match the feel of the world. I think that what people are angry about Rings of Power is pacing, and then changing the lore. I think people are angry about that. And
right, because Amazon told the Tolkien estate, we'll give you a seat at the table. And we won't do certain things without your say-so. And I can only wonder, were they okay with changing the lore? Because in the most recent episode of Rings of Power, Galadriel says that her husband, Celeborn, is dead. And that's not true.
Right. Yeah, that was another freak out I saw people going nuts over. Like lost Cimmerals and dead husbands, yeah. Well, they can't have her, cheating on her husband, right? We got to increase that sexual tension.